What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host. I am Tater86, and today we are going to react to a video that IGN just posted called Resident Evil Requiem, the final preview. It looks like they've played a demo of it, but the article, if you want to read the article, you can go to IGN.com, and it was written by Dale Driver. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and react to this video, and then afterwards I'll kind of give my final thoughts. So let's go ahead and hop over to the video.
With the triumphant return of Leon Kennedy, Resident Evil Requiem is forced to straddle an awkward line between all-out action and methodical survival horror. I'll be honest, before getting my hands on the game and seeing the transition in action, I was extremely skeptical that Capcom would be able to create a coherent experience involving both Leon and Grace, the latest highly vulnerable protagonist.
Hey, over here.
The switching between their polar opposite styles sounds jarring, which is almost never a good thing. And although it's been a while, it's not like we haven't been burned by Capcom's desire to push the series towards action before.
That eyeball.
But I'm pleased to share that, from my all too brief 3 hours of hands-on time with Resident Evil Requiem, not only does this design really work, but there's also a lot more going on than just a merging of Resident Evil's greatest hits.
Final preview written by Dale Driver.
My playtime started with a short test drive of Leon, and Resident Evil 4 muscle memory kicked in immediately. Make no mistake, this plays just like the recent remake, enhanced with some new clever additions suitable for a veteran badass. Leon is more handy than ever, with a deadly hatchet that he can swing mercilessly added to his regular arsenal. Leon can also heave axes found in the world, can perform new contextual finishing moves, and finally wield the violent chainsaw. There was once a time when Leon feared the chainsaw, but now Leon has become Chainsaw, destroyer of ghouls. After a short 15 minutes, the gameplay shifted perspective to Grace Ashcroft, Requiem's second protagonist, picking up her journey immediately after the events of the previous demo I wrote about in August last year. Grace and Leon are polar opposites, gone with the tense gunfights and forward momentum of Resident Evil 4, as I was immediately thrust into what felt like a sterile, white, clean version of Resident Evil 7. For the next 2 hours, I explored the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, a somewhat traditional Resident Evil mansion that contains much of what you might expect among its rooms and corridors, but with plenty of new surprises. Surprises that mostly arise thanks to Grace's abilities, or rather, lack thereof. Much like in the previous demo, Grace's section was focused almost exclusively on survival horror. She is armed with a small pistol that she finds in the environment, but her firepower and combat skills are negligible compared to our favourite floppy-haired icon. Where Leon can roundhouse kick zombies in the face, Grace makes do with a clumsy push. Leon is all-out assault, but the best course of action for Grace is slow and deliberate stealth, because if you do try to take some of the new enemies head-on, you're gonna have a bad time. Last year's demo revealed a new and much celebrated stalker enemy, a towering, hunched, bug-eyed warden. But even within the span of my short 3-hour session, I was introduced to another two, giving me the impression that Resident Evil Requiem won't have one Mr. X or Nemesis-like persistent threat, but rather several smaller pursuers that seem to guard certain wings of the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center. Most notable was a hulking mass of blubber called Chunk, who burst through the wall and into my heart as he slowly but surely ground his way through the halls, stairwells, and doorways in pursuit of me. Uniquely, Chunk fills the space entirely, so your only chance of survival is to find and navigate loops built into the level design in order to outmaneuver the walking lardass. It's a clever design that generates a somewhat living, breathing wall of terror, and one you can't simply sidestep or combat roll away from.
That is terrifying.
Much like the stalker I escaped last year, Chunk is cleverly implemented into the context of traditional safe rooms. Where the room's bright light caused the previous stalker pain, Chunk simply can't physically squeeze his sheer mass through the door, making sure that there's a logical in-world justification for a room of respite. As well as Chunk, I also ran into a 7-foot tall hulking unit masquerading as a chef, who, until he noticed me, was completely focused on his chopping chores. This soon-to-be stalker wasn't yet in searching mode, rather he was fulfilling, I assume, his pre-infection duties. And this kind of behaviour isn't unique to the chef. It turns out in Resident Evil Requiem, the traditional zombie fodder is just as much a star of the show. You see, zombies not only talk now, but also have their own personalities. The undead are no longer unfortunate generic lost souls, but rather husks that retain a smidge of living personalities, hanging out in the space that they once occupied. There's the lounge singing shrieker in the bar area who, before being alerted, entertains herself by belting out a ditty. There are the zombies who were formerly patients in recovery that insist on wheeling around their drip stands, which are then, unsurprisingly, wielded as a weapon when they get aggroed. Some zombies hate loud noises and will repeatedly yell at you if you even so much as smash a vase. And then there's the one that loves nothing more than turning lights on and off until you rudely interrupt him. If it's not clear by now, Resident Evil Requiem, aside from being packed with action and fear, is also now funny, something that the series has never, at least intentionally, achieved before. As Grace creeps around the hospital, there's the continual threat that around every corner awaits horror, or laughter, or sometimes even both. When you can hear the undead nattering away in a room you know you have to enter to achieve your next objective, it's hard to know whether to be scared or have a good chuckle. On paper, this sounds like it could be awful. I'm aware of that, but honestly, it's so good. I laughed so hard when I caught one particular dopey zombie red-handed, both literally and figuratively, lifting a large and importantly red canister to throw my way. I'm sure you can imagine what happened next. The zombie fodder isn't just around to entertain and quickly be disposed of though. As Grace, the undead are a significant threat, always moving a little faster than you anticipate. Their fallen corpses also pose a significant conundrum, as they have the ability to turn into blister heads, a reinvention of Resident Evil Remake's Crimson Heads for a new generation, that reanimate with a bulbous cranium and become significantly tougher to take down. Fortunately, Grace has a new tool at her disposal. A hemolytic injector that weaponizes the buckets of blood lying around the place. Seriously, it's everywhere. Creating a lethal injection that can be used as a preventative measure against blister heads when injecting a fallen enemy, and as a stealth attack against anything that's still moving. Beyond the new enemy types, playing as Grace does feel familiar if you've played either Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 2, although obviously it leans more towards the latter if you choose to play as Grace in third person. You're exploring a huge mansion with locked doors, there are obtuse puzzles to solve, antique coins to find that can upgrade your equipment, Mr. Raccoons to shoot, safe rooms with a typewriter for saving and a storage box for inventory management, and so forth. Leon, however, can brute force open certain doors that Grace can't, and is far more aggressive with combat compared to Grace's methodical stealth. You can also choose to play as Leon in first person, though after a brief dabble, it felt very unnatural to do so. I can't help but think Capcom built the game with Leon in third person and Grace in first person in mind, but it's hard to complain about more choice, despite knowing deep down the development team surely had a preference. My demo ended with a second, all too short stint as Leon, which allowed me to revisit sections of the care center I'd previously experienced with Grace. Interestingly, this section demonstrated perhaps my favourite element of this hybrid experience. Leon is also exposed to some of the tougher combat encounters that I'd suffered through as Grace, although the perspective, much like my viewpoint of choice, is very different. When I met Chunk as Grace, I immediately retreated and was forced into a game of cat and mouse. The threat is intimidating and encourages you to tread lightly. As Leon, however, emboldened by my newly acquired shotgun, I felt instantly trigger happy, unloading shells right up into Chunk's face and launching hatchet attacks on his head as part of a fight that felt somewhat reminiscent of the El Gigante encounters in Resident Evil 4. To Grace, Chunk and his fellow creeps are stalkers. To Leon, they're targets. This ethos was reaffirmed when taking on a wave of blisterheads with Leon at the end of my playtime. With Grace, I waited patiently for a stealth attack opportunity. With Leon, I was hurling hand grenades and throwing axes for fun. This year is the 30th anniversary of the Resident Evil series, so it feels like no coincidence that 2026's Resident Evil Requiem is combining the best ideas of the saga into what appears to be a fantastically constructed tribute to everything that makes the series so great. Do you like tense survival horror? It's here. Want to go all guns blazing with intense action and a quip-obsessed hero? You get to do that too. Do you prefer playing Resident Evil games in first or third person? Doesn't matter, you can do either. All of these choices, along with my fears of a jarring play experience being mostly squashed, make it easy to believe that Capcom's bold move to have its cake and eat it is going to pay off in a big way. If you like that video and want to find out more about Resident Evil Requiem, why not check out my previous preview, where I discuss another Stalker enemy.
All right, so that's the end of the video. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mute this and kind of give my thoughts. First of all, do you guys think we'll see a demo? I really, really hope that the public will see a demo and not just a influencer or media-facing demo. But let's go ahead. I want to go to my first thought here. Let's go. Is it right here? Yeah. Okay. Leon is clearly infected. He's sick. I think time is going to be very critical in this game. That's why both Grace and Leon have watches. I think they have only a limited time for Leon to like completely turn all the way either into a zombie or whatever creature he's going to turn into. And then if he does turn, will he get stuck in, like, you know, killing zombies? Because that's what he does when he's alive. Like, now that the zombies have, like, personalities and they hang on to, like a portion of how they were acting when they were alive, is he just going to be, if he does turn, is he just going to be some raging killer? Like, could he be the villain, the main villain at the end of this game? Like, and Grace has to stop him? Like, is he going to turn and then Grace has to fight him and take him down? Or use some form of serum to bring him back? Why did I say serum so weird? Some form of, like, serum or concoction that she has to put together to bring him, to cure him from being a zombie. That's something to think about. That's a plot prediction there. I guess I could do a whole video on that. But let's keep going through the video. Sharpening the axe. We've already seen this. This is awesome. I like the idea of not having to find a new knife or go to, like, what's the guy that you can buy a new knife from. I forgot his name. In Resident Evil 4, he would sell you things. There was also one in Resident Evil Village. It was the big fat guy. I forgot what they call it. I'm having a brain fart, but yeah, like the guy that you buy things from. It was interesting to see. So Leon takes on this area, but Grace was in this area as well, and she was struggling. Looked like Grace was struggling, and it looks like Leon is mowing down these zombies no problem. I bet that's going to be pretty satisfactory to go through an area as Grace and struggle with it, and then come back through it later and just mow down everybody. I will say I'm warming up to the idea of playing as Grace in third person, or not in third person, in first person. Before I was dead set on third person, but the more and more I see, and the more and more, like, as we get closer and I hear them talk about it and I see this, it makes me I think I want to play it in first person. But it'll be interesting to jump back and forth between first and third. Somebody did say that when you're in third person as Grace, she trips and falls a lot more. Like, so if you're trying to run away from somebody, she trips and falls a lot more. What he said, what Dale just said in this video is, he said that instead of having like a one Mr. X that like stalks you throughout the whole map, here he said it seems like there's sections, like there's different big characters that stalk you in different sections of the map. So like in this kitchen area or wherever the kitchen is, the cook or butcher here will haunt you or stalk you, not haunt you, stalk you. And then obviously this character will stalk you in the beginning of the game or whatever. When I'm not sure it's the beginning of the game or wherever. Yeah, because see how she runs? She doesn't run very fast. Like, so if you're in third person and she's running and like if she was to trip right there, you would have been dead. But I like this idea of this hand cannon here. But it looks like she only has... I saw her inventory earlier. She only has one bullet. And then obviously this big baby from Village who is now all grown up, will stalk you in another portion of the map. So it looks like... Okay, so this looks more like a clean like house. But that looks similar to... And this... Okay, these look like the same sections. Like the baby thing or chunk. Oh, that's terrifying. Chunk could be in a section. And this looks like a completely different section. Like this looks like the upper floor. I wonder... Like what... This whole dinner scene, this looks like it was ripped straight out of Village. You know that room you walk in and the table and then like over here on the right hand side would be the door to go outside. Yeah, and the way that she takes a bite reminds me of Resident Evil 2. I keep going back to the same footage. What do they call him? Reaper or whatever the heck they just called him, where there's like a shell that forms over their head after you kill them so that they're harder. It's kind of like in Resident Evil 4 when the enemies would come back and they would grow tentacles on their head. And I wonder, I'm just spitballing as I see this. You see how like she's using a vial or like a injector? I wonder if Leon's going to be able to create or craft like little bullets that you could shoot. Like if you shoot a bunch of like little vials into an enemy and then they just explode, that would be dope. It would essentially be the same as this, only you shoot like 3 or 4 like bullets into them and then they explode. Puzzles look cool. The puzzles kind of remind me of Resident Evil 2. And then, like, what is this area? Like, it's like the front of the house. This looks like the beginning of the game. Grace Ashcroft, October 8th. Again, time is of the essence because they're marking the time, 11:42 p.m. I bet at some point, Leon and Grace sync their watches up, and again, I think Leon has very little time. He's going to change and he's going to be the main villain, like the final boss. Not main villain, but final boss. That would be insane. Oh. And Leon can now pry open cabinets and stuff. Yeah, look at the difference. Okay, so like she's going to struggle with all these zombies. He just mows them down. Like she gets bit and Leon blows her head off. Yeah, I don't know. This makes me want to go back and play Resident Evil 4 again just before the game comes out. And Resident Evil 2, the remakes. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think of my thoughts on the plot? Do you think Leon will be the final boss in this game? And Grace you're going to have to take down Leon or change Leon back or cure him? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.